Hello, beautiful, fantastic, amazing world. And you, wonderful, wonderful individual. Today, I would like to speak about with enthusiasm for life and for gentleness and for joy, balanced, of course, for without pain you wouldn't, well, be able to reflect on your past and what you have gone through so you can grow. But overcoming it will bring in joy, gentleness, calmness, clarity, and through enthusiasm, you will come to connect more and more to the higher worlds. The sense of life, it is one of our 12 senses. And we have our 5 outer senses. And we also have outer senses that is also connected inwardly, like heat. Heat is both something you can feel outwardly with your touch, but also sense inwardly, spiritual warmth. That means you can feel if someone is warm or if someone is cold and detached, By being enthusiastic, you become warmer and you become more like the higher worlds, for they love that feeling of life in general. Now, just as I was mentioned, the other senses, we have sense of self, sense of balance, sense of life, sense of speech, sense of thought, and sense of warmth. That is 7, yes. 7 plus 5 equals 12. Anywho, you can see the world from any of these lenses if you truly wish to. It is all about being able to train yourself to be able to perceive through any lenses that might present. But first you need to know what lenses are there. And this is why we study spiritual science. Being enthusiastic about cultivating these types of things, that includes the interest and understanding of the world, but not in the sense of what we have been just willy-nilly inculcated with over the years. But it is like, put that aside a little and study anew. Become a student of reality anew, but in a more spiritual, esoteric sense. For, I can tell you immediately, if we are not going inward to know ourselves, which, yeah, it is a risk, it seriously speaks for itself that this will not be an easy task for anyone or anything. But if we do just let it be, would we be able to go any further? No. For there is always, how should we say it? You always have to pay for something to get something back. It is, if it is with your time and effort, or if it is your time and effort, that is what it costs. That's the sacrifice. The sacrifice to put aside, our own egotistical wishes and self-promoting, self-serving, and more or less narcissistic traits, to be able to go beyond ourselves a little, to be able to put ourselves in others' shoes, lay ourselves aside a little, to feel what they feel without any bias or personal inner dialogue with it. That is something you have to strengthen. That means if you observe something, you can comment on it, of course, but the more you stay away from commenting on it and just feeling it, you can observe directly. You feel directly what it is, and you can come to know and become acquainted with it. This is in relation to anything, truly. So, by being objective, that means seeing things from many angles at the same time. That is what we train ourselves to do. For we do have, as I mentioned in many videos, 12 worldviews, 7 soul moods. The 7 soul moods includes occultism, empiricism, voluntarism, transcendentalism, mysticism, and of course, Gnosticism. These different feelings of the soul, take voluntarism. Through voluntarism, your soul mood is you follow will. So if you are a voluntaric idealist, you automatically follow the ideal with your will. If you are let's go a little more advanced, a dynamic mystic, you are, through your inner emotional being, going in to understand dynamic forces like gravity, magnetism, and so on, nuclear forces, you name it, and come to understand it spiritually. That's mysticism. Of course, through mysticism, one needs to have world thoughts to be able to highlight. For if we are only down in mysticism alone, you will only be able to subjectively move around in your own emotions. And this is why we are constantly entertaining and participating in the world, as to be able to anchor ourselves to reality and not lose ourselves in fantastical notions, but actually being able to see what is actually here. For what is presented to us today is presented as a challenge, as, so where do you think you're going to go next? What are you going to cultivate next? And it takes time and effort and dedication, and well, even when you are probably 60, 70, you still think that, shit, I wish I had another lifetime in this, and so you will. But at the same time, you will also think, I have lived a long and good life. It is all about, when you are on your deathbed, that you do not sit with regrets. We are not trying to live in the future. We're trying to live now, moving towards the future. And, living from paycheck to paycheck, or from specific wishes, that means if a wish happens in 2 years, you kind of are asleep through the 2 years, and once that reward comes, you are awake. That is kind of what has become, it is a thing, And it is not really living. It is living in the future somewhere. Now, to be able to cultivate your own inner being requires to be able to anchor yourself in the present moment. For, as I mentioned, in the present moment, you can grasp anything. The present, the past, the future, the different soul moods, the different world thoughts, the different tones. For as I mentioned, we have 3 tones too. We have sun, moon, earth. So the sun is, well, theism. It's a theistic tone. Moon is an intuitive tone. Intuitivistic tone. Which means it's more underlying, more hidden, more feel-like. And then you have the natural tone, which is more in relation to what we can perceive naturally with our senses and such. Bring about a new layer to that. And, theism is more of a religious feeling, the feeling of sacredness and awe and such. And we can become acquainted with all of these tones. Idealism, rationalism, mathematism, materialism, sensationalism, realism, phenomenalism, dynamism, monadism, spiritualism, pneumatism, and also psychism. These 12 is different lenses you can see things from psychic phenomena to pneumatic/spiritual or spiritual beings phenomena. Or we can see it from monad, that means a oneness, or we can see it as from the material, or we can see it from our senses, sensationalism, or sensualism as it also is called. And mathematism, we can see the world through mathematical equations and see everything as measures and numbers, and you see, and none of these are wrong. It is just about in relation to, is it useful in the moment or not? Are we to use it to grow, develop, and help the world, or are we just, satisfying our own need for feeling that we have been egotistically gratifying ourselves by studying? There is a difference. It is difficult to explain it, but it is about humility, the humility to always know that we couldn't have gone anywhere without the higher worlds. The higher worlds are always, through our enthusiasm, connecting to us and helping us so that we can grow, develop, and become more like them. For the more we are living, thinking, feeling, and will impulses like the higher beings, you know, the love, compassion, morality, goodness, faith, love, hope, truth, honesty, transparency, all of these, once you can hold them, we become more and more like them, for we are changing our disposition, we are changing our whole soul spiritual mood by, it is like learning the alphabet. Once it is done, it is autonomous, it becomes a soul faculty. You don't even need to think about the alphabet to think about how painful it would be if we would have to remember when you was learning the alphabet. No, of course not, but you have a sense of it. Think how difficult it would be if we had to do that every time. Every time we have to write something or learn something, we have to learn the alphabet again. It wouldn't be space for anything else. This is why things become autonomous over time. We add layers to ourselves constantly. And that is the beauty of life, you know? The deepening and the expanding. And that is what I will leave you with today. So, thank you so much for listening to me. I never know what is coming, especially when I am enthusiastic about it, but hey, that is the joy of it. A little trust also that there will not come out things that will, you know, be immoral or something. We stick to what is warm, heartful, nurturing, loving. And to hold ourselves to the standards of the higher worlds. For they are strict discipline teachers, you know. Think about Michael, for example. Stalwart, stoic paladin, more or less. It's the best way of describing him. And he is not very communicative, other than nodding in approval or being silent in disapproval. For he has to do with our karma. He takes our actions and our deeds and the effects of them and takes them out to the universe, to the elemental world, so it can be worked upon, and then it comes back to us as karma. So he has to do with all of our consequences. So when he nods in approval, you know what's up. You know you have done something. You have done something that the higher worlds really appreciates. So listen to these beings. They have a lot of good things to say. Although you will have to listen to them in another way than would you would listen to a human being. For you need to feel through your soul. They are living and working and weaving within our emotional soul spiritual being. You can also find their physical reflection or their effects as beings out in the wind, in the turbulent oceans, in volcanic eruptions, in earthquakes. You can see it in rain. You can feel them in the elemental world in general. You can truly, if you use your imagination a little, you can infuse the otherwise dead outer physical world with the imaginative divine realms. So whatever you see physically is but a reflection of spiritual beings doing activity. The more we can connect to that, the more they inspire what is true, and hence ends up infusing that imagination with inspiration. We need to practice imagination long enough so that they can contact us through our imagination. It is about being able to shape pure thought. Direct our thought wherever it is necessary based on our own inner will and discipline. And that is something we practice and train. And, well, yeah, thank you. May you be protected, guided, blessed, and loved by Father, Holy Spirit, Christ, Michael, ancient masters of old, ancestors from every incarnation. And may you be protected, may you be provided for with all that you need to survive, live, thrive, being creative, inspirational, and healing to the world, so others can choose to follow and find their own path when the time is right and the courage is high. And may you be safe and sound, and see you Love you so much. Goodbye.